Many real estate agents across Australia confidently refer Property Insurance Plus to their clients as they recognise the price and benefit value of their policy combined with the client-focused service they deliver. They offer a comprehensive building and landlord insurance facility and have formed a powerhouse to present the very best in investment property insurance. Contact PIP today to find out more.
Oh my God, 12 weeks goes so fast, and I have got Skye Taylor back for her second podcast to talk about those goals. Welcome back, Skye.
Thank you. I am shocked at how fast 12 weeks went. It really wasn't long enough.
And I'm so glad that we had booked it in. So for those that don't remember or didn't listen to the podcast Skye and I did, we did it about 12 weeks ago. Skye was starting full-time in her business. She had some questions, and then we set some goals for that 12-week mark. And I think one of the things that I'm happy that we did is we scheduled it in straight away. So it was already in. I won't lie, I was sort of expecting you to message me and say, Ash, can we postpone it? It's come around so quick, and good on you for not doing that. But it's gone quick. So run us through how you've been going in the last 3 months.
Yeah, every part of me wanted to message you and go, can I just have one more month? Because I really wanted to be like, yes, I hit my goals. But I remembered what you said around whether you hit the goal or not. I think it's still important that we revisit this. So I had 30 properties when I quit my full-time job and came full-time into the business. I've hit 50% of that goal. So I wanted to hit 60. It was a great idea, but I've gotten to exactly 45.
Well done. I mean, that's great. It's progress in the right direction first up. So that's very good. Do you think that the goal you had was achievable? Was there any struggles that you had that contributed to you not meeting that goal?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a big, hairy, audacious goal, which I think is important to have, because, if I had only set, I'd like to hit 45, well, then did I end up at 36? So I think it's good to always aim as high as possible, because I'm really happy with that, because all of October, so I quit on the 20th of September, and I had 2 interstate trips in October and an overseas trip in October. So I was pretty much gone for the whole month. I still signed up, I think, 4 properties in that time, which I'm really happy with. But the trips that I took away, they weren't planned. I wasn't expecting to have that much time off in the 1 month. It started with a bit of an entrepreneur conference in Queensland, and then we did the IGT conference in Brisbane. And then I took my children to Bali for our annual trip, which was important. And it's just been such a crazy time, not only catching up from being away, but I've listed most of those properties in November. It's been an absolutely crazy time. So, and there's lots in the pipeline, which is why I thought if we did it in December, I'd probably have better results, but that's fine.
No, I like this. I think it's good for people to hear it. And we just did a session with Hermione Gardner, and one thing she spoke about is reframing your mindset with a few things. So I guess I was just going to reframe what you just said and say how amazing that you have not only grown your business, by 50%, you've also been able to have a family holiday, do a personal, or do sort of more, one probably more business development, and then one more personal development course. You've been able to do all of that and still grow, which is pretty cool, because otherwise if you felt and not saying that for any moment that you don't work hard, but if you didn't have those little bits and pieces, those fun things as well, you would have probably kicked yourself a little bit more and just thought, I worked so hard, 12 hours a day, and I still didn't get my goal. But instead you can go, I still did this and this and this, and I still did pretty well.
Absolutely. Still enjoyed the journey and still got pretty good results, I think, for that period. And it's just going to get better from here. And I think taking that leap, which was something we spoke about. And now looking back, I wish I'd done it earlier. But taking that leap was really, I think the biggest thing I've learned was about mindset. Not once have I been stressed about whether this is going to work. Like, I just know it will. And I always didn't want to go into, I guess, lounge rooms with clients and have that desperation or that needy energy. And I haven't had that, mainly because it's been so busy. But I haven't ever had that doubt that this is not going to work because I'm doing all of the activities that I know will pay dividends eventually. So I think that's been a real learning lesson for me, that I thought that I would be holding myself back. And it turns out that, yeah, having the right mindset and belief in yourself is really all you need.
Yeah, I think that with the situation that you're in, with that good, those good numbers, which are great numbers, do you feel that if you were setting yourself another goal, or actually, first up, do you plan to set yourself another goal? Do you normally do that?
Yeah, so I'm still pushing for that magic 60 by the end of the year, but I know it does quieten down over Christmas, but traditionally it's been busy for me. So I'm hoping that we'll get there at worst case by the end of January. But I literally had a meeting with someone yesterday who's got 14 properties. So we might get there a lot quicker.
Yeah, I remember the time when I was at 90 and my goal was 100, and I had someone walk in, and I always tell this story because it's a good one. He came in and he's an old man, very scruffy looking, little tiny, farmer, like stubby shorts and very basic looking. Came in and he had a little crappy bed sit in Vic Park, which is, a place where in Perth where there's loads of little apartments. And it was probably worth like $180 per week. Anyway, he came into the office. I sat there and I did the new management stuff with him. I think he actually might have just been a walk-in. Gave him the time. And then at the end of the conversation, he said, "You can have the property." I was like, fantastic. But I wasn't that excited because it was a bit of a crappy one. But then he turns around and he goes to me, "I've got 14 of them." And that got me over the goal. And he said that people, he actually had brought it up that he had a lot of people not give him the time because the way he presented, and I gave him that time and treated him like I would anyone, which, I mean, to me, of course, you would do that, but yeah, some people don't, and that got me over. So that was quite critical. So it'd be awesome if that was the same story for you.
Absolutely, and hopefully that is the case. But it's almost highlighted for me the fact that it would cause a lot of additional work that I'm perhaps not ready for. So those 14 properties, if they come across, it would be January. So it was almost a question that I was going to have a chat with you beforehand, but we might as well do it here.
Because I was, just for context, when Skye started talking, I was like, hold on, I'm pressing record. Let's have this discussion online. So yes, let's just have it online.
Yeah, so a lot of what I spoke to you about last time was I wanted to get my systems ready. I wanted to be in a position to take on 14 properties without it causing me undue stress. Not quite there yet, but thinking ahead, I'm hearing a lot of people say that, 50 is the number you want to start looking at because a VA would be my first step. And I think you said it, a number of people have said 50 is sort of that magic number for the numbers to make sense. And you kind of want to take on support before you need the support from multiple people. So thinking that through, there's obviously a number of agencies who offer that and can help you get set up. But I remember you were saying you found someone through LinkedIn.
Yeah. And I think what I found, and it's probably different now, but when I had started using VAs, it was really the only option was full-time, and they didn't really have those part-time options. But for me, I do have a mix. I've got a mix. I've got one that is through an agency, and then I've got two that are personal. I've taken directly from LinkedIn. So I kind of remember, I think these people had approached me, and I the reason why I went private was definitely driven by price, because I was personally paying for someone. I wanted someone personally to just pay 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week to help me with my LinkedIn connections and just keeping all that back end stuff running. So for me, it wasn't a business expense, it was me personally. So that's what I went down the road of doing. And I have had her for over 12 months, maybe probably pushing now close to 2 years. And she's amazing. And she just helps me with so much. She keeps me accountable. She, the other day she emailed me and said, Ash, you don't have another podcast scheduled in. And I'm like, no, it's all good. I've got it ready to send to you. So things like that I find are really helpful. I think everyone should have a personal VA. So if you go through an agency, it just feels a bit more formal, which I get that you need when they're having access to your systems and things like that as well. But I am seeing a lot of trends with the privately employing VAs. I think that there's pros and cons for both options. I think if someone was particularly nervous, then going through an agency is a fantastic option. If you're a little bit more, bit more of a risk taker like me, then you can go down that road. But there's things that like I did with making sure that my IT department had accessed their computer and put everything on the the cyber stuff. I don't even know what it is. I trust my IT department to put the right stuff on. So they did all that. I could. Would I go? So and I'm probably rambling on this a little bit because I'm sort of thinking of what I would do would I get rid of my VA through the company and only have personal? I don't know. I don't know if I would. I actually do like having one through a company for stability. But I definitely like having my personal one. So it's a bit of a long answer, but if you are driven, like you, I imagine would be driven by price to a certain extent. So and also the time. You don't necessarily want to say I want 40 hours a week. Maybe you just want a personal PA that can just be another Skye that can do what you do, but just help you, like just a business best friend, like that. That's what you want, and you don't necessarily want all the formality that comes with it. You just want someone like mine. I can just message on WhatsApp or whatever. Hey, can you quickly stick this photo up? Can you do this? Can you do that? Like for me, I love that style. I think that would suit you pretty well as well.
Yeah, I've had someone reach out, and while I haven't interviewed her as such, I guess I was trying to think through what are the things I need to think about if I do go private for that. But I love the idea of being able to take someone on part-time and have them grow with me in the business potentially, and just to have that flexibility because, yeah, you're right, the agencies are more full-time and there wouldn't be enough work for them. They'd be twiddling their thumbs at this point, but it would be good to take on someone beforehand so that it's not like I'm too busy to onboard someone and I don't want them to then have a poor experience.
I feel like there's also, I find that I have more connection with my personal VAs as opposed to my ones through the agency as well. And I don't know why that is. I think it's probably because the personal ones are a bit more flexible with time. Like mine have got children, so they send you school pictures if they're at assembly, but then they check in if you need anything on the Saturday or a Sunday. Like that is probably like that suits some people's lifestyle. And given that you're a solo business owner, that probably does work spread out over 7 days a week, then having someone flexible like that as well is really helpful. So I think you should take the risk and do it. I think it's very affordable to do it personally, and I approach mine by just saying, listen, I've never had a VA before, so it's very new to me. I think I only need you for 20 hours a week, and I just want to give it a go for 3 months and see how it goes. I was very honest with that, and I mean, 2 years later, she's still there. So like that's how, like, even if you just, I think for me, when I make decisions, I always sort of look at like the worst case. And in my mind, I was like, well, 3 months at 20 hours per week, this is what it's going to cost me to give it a go. And it wasn't a lot of money. So it's like, I'm happy to risk that to give it a go and see. But you really probably, I would say, you'd want to get onto that relatively quickly. And what you can start doing now just to prep, because you might say, well, I don't want anyone to start till January. What I would start doing now is every time you're doing something, like whether it's a lease agreement or setting up a new tenant in your system or advertising a property, I would start just like using Loom or Zoom to just start recording those videos and just have them then in a Google Drive. So I'd set it up in a Google Drive with offshore training. And every time you do a task, just record it, pop it in there so that then when you do get someone, you can say, hey, here's a heap of videos if you can go through and watch them. And then you've already got a bit of a head start. So
yeah, I started doing that while I was in Bali.
Great, excellent.
Love the Loom. And I think that's, such a great technology to use so that they can just watch the videos. So, yeah. Okay, thank you. I might have a chat with her and see if we can work something out.
So I did the interview with them on Zoom, got to know them a little bit more, but then I went through their socials and had a look and got a feel for them there as well, and then find out what programs they've used before, if they've used, whether it's Property Me and realestate.com or whatever it is, IRE, just check to see what ones they've used and which ones they haven't as well. So I would probably recommend that you check that, and that's it. From that, I was able to gauge enough.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Sensor Global saves lives with automatic compliance and manages smoke alarms, gas and water leak detection with 24/7 remote management. It provides complete control, reduced risks and improved compliance for property managers. To find out more, speak to Anthony Booth or head over to sensorglobal.com.
When you've got the people management experience, so you can usually, I think, when you've got that background, it's pretty easy to make a gut decision.
Yeah.
I think what is that? Saying hire slow and fire fast. But I think generally when we first meet someone, we know if they're the right fit for us.
Yeah, totally. We the other interview, the other week I was doing a podcast with Sam, my BDM, and I said to her, okay, tell everyone about your history and your background. And she was like, Ash, I don't even know if you know this. And I was like, no, I don't, because if you gave me a resume, I wouldn't have read it. I would have just gone on you as a person. So I actually don't really know your history. So we had a bit of a chuckle about that because, I'm always on gut feel. So goals, a couple of things I just want to ask you now. The goals with what you had before, and next time when you set goals, I sometimes fall into the trap of setting safe goals where I say to myself, okay, well, I did 15 properties in the last 3 months and my goal is to continue doing 5 a month. Do you do that as well, or do you push it and say, well, no, next time I want to do 7 per month?
Yeah, I think I'm a bit of both. It's comfortable to set a safe goal. And in my head, I can't see past 60 because to me, that's like the magic number where it doesn't matter that I don't have a full-time job. You've actually prompted me that I need to set goals past January and what that looks like. So I'll be doing that later today. Thank you. And I think, I want to set big goals because this particular exercise has shown me that if I'd set a safe goal, I don't think I would have reached the one that I did. So
yeah. But you've got to also be careful that you don't go, oh, I'm going to set that big goal because then I can get this goal. Like, you know what I mean? It's a bit of a, because that's how I would do it as well, but I would fall into the trap.
Yeah. So big that you're then like, oh, I'm never going to achieve it. And you discourage yourself.
Yeah, and other things that you could do, and you might do these already, but like you said, you've got your goal of 60, which is great. But, if there's any other personal goals or little trips you want to do with the kids or, when I get to this, this number, then I'm going to book in a day spa for the day or, something like that. Do you have any little personal things attached to your goals as well?
That's what I want to do. I was having this conversation with someone else about setting rewards for goals. So again, I've only done it to 60, but in my fridge is a bottle of Verve with the 50 on it. So when I hit 50, we're drinking that. And then there's another bottle with the number 60 on it. But I do want to set some bigger rewards for meeting the bigger goals. So I haven't thought about those, but I will. I'm going to Boracay in April on the IGT Leaders Retreat.
Great.
So the goal is 100 properties by then, which feels impossible. But yeah, then you get clients walking and go, I've got 14 properties. So who knows?
Yeah. No, I think that's a very achievable goal. I think you should be adding on to that goal that not only do you want those 100 properties, you want to have a full-time VA to handle, 70% of the workload. So when you go to Boracay, you can
Enjoy it.
really enjoy it. That's right. I think that should absolutely be one of the goals as well, just to have someone full-time by the time you go away and enjoy those trips. So add that in. Tell me about the well, we can talk about both, but the first conference that you had, I don't think you'd been to. Had you been to it when we last spoke? That was it more of a social media or?
Yeah, it was called Dream Fest, and it was basically 2 days, just a bunch of entrepreneurs in the room and talking about branding and marketing. And it was just really good energy to be around. Like at that point, your network is your net worth type of attitude, like who you surround yourself with. It was a great start to being full-time in the business.
Is there anything that you learned that you still implement today or that you would sort of advise as a good tip?
Yeah, so there was some key messages around making offers. A lot of the people in the room were more of an online course type of sales business. But certainly how we do an appraisal, how do we package up that offer so that it's appealing? And it could be as simple as the words we're using. So offering bonuses if you sign by the 30th of November, for example, just that more persuasive selling that I think I wasn't doing beforehand. And some really key takeaways on marketing and branding and identifying what your brand is, whether that's the business brand or the personal brand. So I definitely got a lot out of it. Haven't implemented everything as yet, but yeah, it's like the implementation list is so long and we get so caught up working in the business that my challenge is finding the time to work on the business.
Yeah. I love doing conferences and training outside of real estate. So things like what you did for me, and you've got the same brain where you know how to implement what they're saying into your own business as well. I work a lot these days on my business, and I won't lie, it was the first time when I was at the IGT conference with you this year that I normally have a really long implementation list, and I'm really good at implementing, so I've got a good system for it. But I also have just hired, when we were away, had hired an operations manager, and I've never had an operations manager or any type of management. And I won't lie, that list of things that I was thinking of during the IGT, I just went straight to Marissa and I was like, she was like my to-do list. I was like, do this, do that, explore this. So it was very different for me. It was the first time in 20 years I've ever been able to do that. And that was really cool. So she is doing all my implementing. So it's I've got all the ideas and I'm like, can you please get quotes for this and do this?
How amazing.
So good, so good. But I think that I find most of my time these days, just because I'm not hands-on managing, is very much all lead generation, which all comes down to personal branding and marketing and things like that. So I do spend a lot of time doing that these days, which does bring money and leads into the business, which is good and helps with the system. So it's a pretty cool position to be in, to get to that when you can hand off your day-to-day duties, which will be, I would imagine, from what I know of you, that would sort of be one of the next sort of goals, is to have someone doing more of that day-to-day stuff for you, because I imagine you do love the lead generation, the personal branding, like that's your sweet spot.
Absolutely. And it's like what we spoke about last time, working in your zone of genius so you enjoy it. That's been like in the back of my head for the last 12 weeks. So absolutely, I don't enjoy sitting there typing up lease renewals. I enjoy being out there. A key part of, like, I've tracked where my leads have come in, and 50% of them are referral, which has either been through, my strategic alliances, but they've essentially come about from my personal brand. So I'm the same as you, and I won't deviate from that plan because that's what's paying off for me as well. So
I noticed.
Find those so you can enjoy the journey for those times when I'm sitting there at midnight typing up whatever I need to type up, looking for the fun parts of it.
Are you doing more than a traditional 40 hours? Do you find, are you going over that?
Yes, and that's part of what I guess has been a bit of the frustration for me lately, is because it's only 40 odd properties. Like, why am I this busy? But I'm looking at all the other things that I'm implementing. It's definitely more than 40 hours, but it's probably more of the business related stuff. Plus, I'd spoken to you last time. I'd said I was looking at upgrading my Property Me. I didn't really have my systems in place, which I upgraded it, and I wish I'd upgraded it sooner. So for anyone on a basic subscription, please get standard. Changed my life.
Right.
Just in terms of the process and making things quicker so I wasn't forgetting anything, like the checklist function in Task saved me there. And even just down to, we last spoke, we were putting in a CRM and you'd recommended that I invest my time and money into getting a CRM, which I've done. I've got the CRM, but now I'm finding I'm investing the time to learn how to use it. So there's all those sorts of things that I guess are taking up my time, and just little tweaks. Like, I was doing in-person tenant inductions. I've now had to change that because I just haven't got the capacity, particularly for the properties that are further away, to be doing an in-person induction as I've gotten busier. So I've had to readjust my process. So it's all those little things that I guess have taken up the time.
Still classed as, I think, working on your business. Like, that's still a process and procedure. One figure I was just going to bring up, just got my calculator to work it out to give you a bit of an idea. But I've always worked on that because I used to have a lot of part-timers. So for every hour that someone works, they should be able to look after between 3 to 5 properties per hour that they work, depending on their experience, how long they've been with the company for, etc. So based on 3 properties per hour, on 40 properties, you should be allocating around 14 hours a week of work to the actual management of it. I'm only sharing that so you've got a bit of an idea, which is, you might be doing more, but let's just round it up to 3 hours a day. 3 hours a day of your day should be doing your actual rent arrears, maintenance, lease renewals, etc. If you're doing any more than that, then I always say to people, now, if you're doing more than that, you've got either you're too slow, number one, or number two, your processes need to have better efficiency, and you just have to work out which one it is and then tweak it. So that's just like my little tip.
I'm definitely working more than 14 hours. No, but yes, there's been
on the properties, like just on the property management. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think looking at my calendar, I would say probably 60% of it is, meetings, BDM activities, rather than, I guess, property management activities per se, but definitely had to readjust a lot of processes to find some more efficient ways of doing things.
And if you then look at that number and then say to yourself, okay, so if it's meant to be, 3 hours per day, that's 15 hours per week. Having a VA for 15 hours per week to do the arrears, the lease renewals, the sign-ups, the entry in, that could be quite, like, that's sort of how I would sort of assess how much time you need support for. So I think a 15 to 20 hour BA to start off with would be good, and then increase the hours as that growth happens as well.
Absolutely. I really like that calculation, even though it's a little bit eye-opening. It's a good rule of thumb. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I used to have some property managers that work 10 hours a week, others work like 18 hours, 25, and it was really hard to actually work out a formula. So that's where that one's come from. So yeah, so that hopefully that helps. And then my last question for you today is, how do you have a plan with your implementation? So obviously from even the IGT conference, there would have been a few things to implement there. I have noticed one of the ones that you have been doing, which was the variety of videos you've changed now, which is great, because I know that Dennis had mentioned that to you about the variety. So that's good to see that happen.
One of the things too, which you might not have noticed, but I did, you spoke about how, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but with recording the videos, don't be perfect. You're actually more endearing to people when you stuff up and have bloopers. And before hearing that, I would do 6 or 7 takes until it was perfect. If there was like a hair sitting on my shoulder, no, we're going to re-record it. Like, I was perfectionist city. I have been trying to let some of that go, because I like the fact that people would find it more endearing if it's not 100% perfect. So I have been implementing that. So
how many takes are you doing per video?
Well, and I'm, for the first time ever, I'm actually trying not to rewatch them, as I always did, to make sure it was perfect. So now it's just more of a record and push go. So
good job.
And which is, saves time too, not having it all perfect. And so in terms of your original question, trying to, I guess, implement things, I'm trying to time block wherever I can, because I find that I've always struggled with focus, always the next shiny thing to look at. So I'm trying to just set dedicated blocks in my calendar to just, rather than go, I want to take this whole project and it's going to take, for example, 15 hours to put in place, just doing like an hour here and there, rather than not only getting overwhelmed by it, but at least then there's just little baby steps to get through some of the bigger stuff.
Yeah, and just being present of the journey, and not stress too much about that end result, I think is important. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and it said people that are so focused on the future, they lose sight of the moment and today. And yeah, just trusting that if you just do those little things each day, that consistency will benefit you in the future as well. For me, I started using the reminder app on my iPhone. And so whenever I think of anything that I want to do or an idea, I just pop it on there. And then, do you say how you do yours? Yeah.
Love the reminder app. And I've got so many lists in there. There's I've got like a personal list. So if I've got to go pick up some dry cleaning, it's on the personal list. And that's the beauty of it, that you can add it in anytime. You can even ask Siri to add it in while you're driving.
Correct. And that's probably been the best way to manage that I've ever found. So I haven't been doing it for that long, but it's definitely been the easiest, because I was using my inbox as my to-do list. I was sending myself an email, and then someone said to me, you should not be using your inbox as a to-do list.
Apparently, yeah.
So that's why I do it. But now, like each morning I look at it and I sort of think to myself, is there anything that I can quickly do this morning or implement, or maybe on the weekend if I've got some quiet time, I'll sort of look at it and try and tick off a couple of things a week. I mean, I'm sure I'm probably adding on 5 things a week and ticking off 2, but it's still progress. And at least I think just getting it out of your mind is probably the first thing to do. Or if you're having a little lull or you need some motivation, I always go back to that list and go, okay, well, what can I do on this list that can help me? So do highly recommend the simplicity of that.
Well, I probably complicated it because I've got like a today list and then like a must do list. And so each morning I just move like 2 things to the must do. So then because you can move them between lists and that way. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you are. You see, sometimes some people create more work for themselves. My list has got everything in the one, and I'm just having a quick look at it. And I have got, no one would understand what I'm looking like. What like my code is for stuff. But I just put everything. I've got my favorite, like a recipe that I've seen that I want to cook in there. I've got people I want to email. I've got scheduling this type of podcast. I'm currently tracking my petrol use. So I've put petrol last filled up 18th of November, just stuff like that, because I've got a hybrid car and I'm trying to reduce the amount of petrol that I use. So I was like, if I put it in there the last date that I filled up, and then if I use electricity all the time, then
yeah. So it's like your own personal stack of Post-it notes, really.
100%, that's exactly what it is. So but I like it.
Yeah, no, I've always found it to be beneficial, and I'm surprised how many people don't know that that's actually an app in their iPhone. I speak to people about it all the time.
I know, it's really good. But no, excellent. Well, hopefully there is a few gold nuggets for people. And I appreciate you being confident in me enough to be able just to ask these questions on a live recording. So I think they're helpful, and it's very, it's also brave to do that as well. So I appreciate that. I think that we should do another one, which I will schedule in again, because I think this is going to be really good just to continue for your progress. But I think we'll do it closer to before you go away. So is that in April? So if I schedule one in for towards maybe mid-March or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's the end of April that we go away. So.
Okay, so maybe then I'll do sort of sometime in the first week of August. So you'll get a calendar invite. So we'll book it in and have it done. And I think it's really great to track the progress, and hopefully it sort of helps you a little bit as well with the accountability.
Absolutely. It's a huge help. So thank you.
Amazing, wonderful. Well, we'll speak to you before then anyway. Otherwise, I'll have that booked in. For those that haven't listened to Skye's first podcast, it wasn't that long ago. Go back and find that one, listen to that first, and then come back. Actually, you've already listened to this one, so don't come back and listen to it because you've listened to it. But yeah, go back and listen to the first one if you want to have a listen to those first things. And very much, it's a diary of Skye Taylor's launch to being in her business full time, taking those risks, trusting herself, trusting the universe, and knowing that it will work out.
It does. Absolutely.
Thanks, Skye.
Ash.
MCG quantity surveyors are a favourite for property managers around Australia to help their clients maximise their cash flow through tax depreciation. I love how they place a strong emphasis on industry-leading education and data releases that they share with our community, and because they support the property industry so much, it is a no-brainer to use them for all your tax depreciation needs.